Dad Life presents Screen Geeks, a live TV and film talk show. Tonight we're going to share our first reactions to the insane Spider-Man No Way Home movie. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Sorry, what was your name again?
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Screen Geeks. My name is Jay, and with me, as always, on this journey of screen geekery is my good friend Ralph. Ralph, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. You caught me in the middle of like a podcasting hiatus, so my beard is in like full vacation mode.
This is how I prefer it, my friend. In all of its glory, in all of its long glory. Excited to be here tonight to talk about an insane film that just only a few years ago you would think it would never happen. And so I'm super. You and I saw it today,
Right?
And oh man, just so much that I can't wait to talk about it. I'm so happy to be talking about it with you, as well as the wonderful people that join us live every single time we jump on. So I want to say hello to them. First up is Cobweb, who hasn't seen the film yet, but wanted to at least leave a comment and a like. Appreciate that, Cobweb. Make sure you hit the like button down below, everyone. Live Action Star Wars, great channel. Check it out if you haven't already. Kat, Dartherian, John Rhodes, Robert is here as well. David V, Wing or Lose, Dartherian. Are we talking spoilers? Yes, we are talking spoilers. We'll put up a spoiler warning in a second, but we're talking about the movie, and this one you do not want to be spoiled in. So if you have not seen the movie yet, trust me, you won't offend me. Get the heck out of here. I'll put another warning in a second.
Go check out that Star Wars show we talked about, and then come back.
There you go. Dartherian, Nick Dillinger, Comics 1017, Toy and Fun, Kat Hansen, Lolo Pap, Riley Bob. Haven't seen Spider-Man. Wanted to say hey and dip out. We'll watch playback one scene. Thank you, Riley Bob. Good to see you here. IC Games or 1C Games. As well as Macanita Silva, JSN Dudes. Yes, we are two dudes. Are we talking about Spider-Man No Way Home? And before we do that, though, spoiler alert, super duper spoiler alert. We will be talking about the film, and usually a film of this magnitude, I try to see like opening night. But the timing just didn't work out. And I think it was similar for you. Just the timing didn't work out. So before we get into that, Ralph, was it stressful trying to avoid spoilers these few days to just a couple days after opening night?
Well, so on Twitter, the official Spider-Man Twitter page changed their name to Spider-Man No Spoilers. And so they had promoted a tweet about Spider-Man, and it said promoted by Spider-Man No Spoilers. So I'm like, oh, let me check out, see what people are saying. And like the first thing was an image of spoilers.
Seriously?
But I mean, yeah. So by them changing their name to that, it led me to believe that the trending topic did not have spoilers.
Oh, no.
I was fine with it, though. I was fine with it. Based on what we saw in the trailers, the images I saw wasn't terribly surprising.
Yeah.
And even though I was spoiled on it, it still didn't prepare me for like the emotional punch that this movie landed.
100% agree. 100% agree. So I'm going to add a banner in right now. I just made it. So doubly spoiler alert. We are talking about the film. So this is it. This is your last chance. If you haven't seen the film yet, get the heck out of here. All right. I feel like, Ralph, we have warned them as best as we can, right?
And this episode will be up on Geek Dad Life after you're done seeing it. So
exactly. Yeah. It gets posted right after. So really, you're not missing a thing other than being a part of the conversation live, which I understand. It is fun to be here live, but there will be plenty of other live streams in the future that you can be a part of if you haven't seen it yet. All right. Whew. I cried a lot in this movie.
I did too. Like seriously, like probably the last half. How long was this movie?
I don't
even know the runtime. And like halfway through the movie, there was like a lizard fight or something, and I was just like, I can watch this forever.
Yeah.
I hope this movie goes on for 3 more hours.
Yes.
I was surprised because this is how I assumed it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed we were going to get a Spider-Man movie,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the end, the classic villains would show up, and then at the very end, Ghostbusters Afterlife style,
Yes.
the other Spider-Man would show up.
Yep. Yeah.
But we got maybe a half hour in before we got the old school villains.
They came in pretty fast. It was
And
way
we
faster
got
than I expected.
I assumed, like, the way the trailers were cut, I assumed, oh, Jamie Foxx just showed up for the battle and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
All these classic villains were in there a ton. It was all about them.
Yep.
And what got me the most was, like, we've seen these guys battle for the last 20 years.
Yes.
And this movie was about not battling them, but helping them.
Yes.
And I thought that aspect of the film was amazing. Like,
totally agree.
Like Tom Holland's the one that wants to make things better instead of just getting rid of the danger or getting rid of the villains.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. And then Green Goblin's story.
Oh, like
you felt for all these guys.
Yes.
And you realize they're all scientists.
Yes.
Except for Sandman.
Yeah.
But it's you don't think about how they just got corrupted. They all got corrupted by outside sources.
Mm-hmm.
They're victims of science.
Yep.
And so you always just expect, oh, I can't wait to see them fight. I can't wait to see them fight. But it's like, no.
Yeah.
Making them better. And that kind of storyline just totally just drives this movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like, yeah, and I love Charlie Weaver's comment here. Let's be honest, this was the best sequel to 3 different franchises. And it really was, because it had so many great resolutions to all 3 franchises, to the bad guys, because something that I think especially in the Tobey Maguire verse Spider-Man, the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin was amazing, and it was this tormented character, and he ended up dying in the end. And then same thing for Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. It was this really moving story of man overcoming machine, and in the end he was able to kind of redeem his humanity, but he still died. And even still for the Garfield spider villains, which were a little bit more hammy than the ones in the Tobey verse, but they had some really nice resolutions. But then Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 3 had amazing resolution.
This is what I liked about that, is the focus was on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, aka our Peter 2. It focused on their villains and their troubled story.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it came to Peter 3, aka Andrew Garfield, the story was more about him.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I hadn't seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2 until last Tuesday.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's fresh.
I hadn't seen it. And I watched it. And I'm like, this movie is nuts.
It's insane.
This movie is insane. The villains are poorly conceived. They don't look right. They're just everything about the movie is awkward.
Yeah.
And it's really, really goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew Garfield always played Spider-Man as real jovial, but his Peter Parker was always mopey.
Yeah.
And so there was a disconnect that definitely in Spider-Man 2 with this crazy, weird, wacky action and then mopey Peter.
Yeah.
But the one thing that movie did, which was a gut punch, and we saw coming, and every comic book fan knows about the death of Gwen Stacy. Yeah. And that moment in that film is so great.
Mm-hmm.
And what I loved about this movie is we get that redemption when he says, "Oh, Gwen, she was my MJ."
Yep. Yeah.
And to see MJ put in a similar situation as Gwen Stacy.
Yep.
And Andrew Garfield being able to actually rescue her, I lost it.
Same.
And it was based on a movie that I thought was completely stupid.
Right? Yeah.
And so it totally redeems that movie for me. It's so crazy.
100% agree. And JSN says it here. I'm just glad Spider-Man 3 received closure. it was, and I'm tearing up now just thinking about it again, but like and we saw that kind of that scene set up in the trailer.
Yeah,
but
with the hands.
yeah, and I was like,
together.
oh man, is she gonna die? Like that's what I was thinking. And I've seen, Colleen and I, we watched the movie whenever it came out, however long ago. But and that was a really, like, it was really moving. It was probably the one, because the first one I thought was good. The second one is where they kind of it had that
It's
problem.
insane.
It just threw so much into one movie. Where the rhinos at the very end, and it's like, oh, what? And then so they even kind of made fun of that a little bit in this movie. But go ahead.
You know what's great about this movie too is because Andrew Garfield's Green Goblin doesn't come back and get cured.
Yep.
It's still a world in which Gwen Stacy dies.
Yeah.
And it's like super tragic still. Like he has to go back and live with that. Tobey Maguire might get Doc Ock is now good.
Yeah.
Green Goblin is now good. So he might have a different path. But with the Green Goblin still alive in Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 2, he doesn't get Gwen back. And it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
But
he has that moment to kind of to I guess resolve those demons, right? Because you see it in him, and it was just such a, again, like for me, the Aunt May death on was just tears, like, so, like, just not, I felt like it was nonstop. It may not been nonstop. I was wearing a KN95 mask or whatever, and so it started to get wet. Mask,
when I left the theater, I took my mask off, blew my nose and stuff, and then turned it upside down so that I had the dry side up here. It was emotional, man. These are characters, like, Spider-Man's been around forever. That's great. But like Tobey Maguire was literally 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was 2001 or 99?
2002?
No, 2001. It was 2001.
Because it was the whole
in the trailer.
Yeah.
So these are characters, these are people, your friends you haven't seen,
right?
And then we just watched Spider-Man 2 over the course of the week. We finished it up last night, and when we started it back up last night, it was the train sequence.
Oh yeah,
where Toby saves the people on the train and his mask is off and they all see his face and he's like, he's just a kid.
Yep.
And the little kid gives him the mask and says, your secret's safe with us, Spider-Man. That is an amazing moment. That was from 2004.
Yeah.
And so it's like seeing these characters come back. It's so great because we just assumed in 2008 we got Iron Man and we're introduced to this new MCU. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man wasn't part of it. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man wasn't part of it. And now we finally get that injected into the MCU. And I love it so much. I'm not one to gush over Marvel movies. I'm definitely not one to cry at them. But to see these characters again, and like, so well done. And it wasn't like, listen, I like Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think the classic Ghostbusters were in a right amount of time. It didn't overstay their welcome. But the fact, I had no idea there's going to be this much Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. I had no idea. There was a lot. Like they I literally thought they're going to show up at the end, Ghostbusters it, and then bounce. But the fact that they spent so much time thinking about where these characters are now.
Yes.
And also the scene I think that got me the most was after they first showed up and they go to the school rooftop. And it's all three of them.
Yes.
And they both talk about Uncle Ben.
Yep.
And they talk about Gwen and they talk about
May.
Their dark side. What caused them to get dark. And that's the whole crux of this story is what's the thing that makes Spider-Man go over the edge, and it's the Green Goblin, and he wants to tear him apart. And it's like this crazy, like, the storytelling is amazing. I can't believe they They could have just thrown him in. They could have just thrown the other Spider-Mans in, and that's it. But the fact that they're so well fleshed out and they mean something to our Peter Parker's story.
Yeah. And to their own story. I think that's the brilliance of it. It's not just it means something to the Tom Holland Spider-Verse. Right. They mean something to their own universe. And it's all it's not a cameo. It literally gives you, because I think for both the Garfield Spider-Man and especially the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, they kind of didn't get to have that really nice final movie that kind of neatly wrapped it in a bow, right? Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I think there was going to be a Sam Raimi fourth one. It just didn't work out. So that story never really got to end. Same thing for Andrew Garfield. The second one was kind of a mess. And that's when they kind of made the deal with Marvel Studios and brought in the Tom Holland. So they actually got to have their own resolution. And not only that, but the Tom Holland Spider-Man, kind of the MCU Tony Starkified Spider-Man, kind of it wrapped it up. And you could see where if this was the last, in the MCU verse Spider-Man, you could totally see how it kind of tied it in a neat bow where it can kind of go do its own thing. It doesn't have to be. Now they made the deal, and I guess it will be. But I love how it kind of almost reset the Tom Holland Spider-Man and let it get back, let him get back to his roots as well. Oh, there's so many levels, like the last suit, the last spider suit.
Yes,
Jeff's kiss, so good.
It's the classic Steve Ditko. There's no bells and whistles.
Yep.
It's the most Steve Ditko Spider-Man suit ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see that. And now, more than anything, after this movie, or after Doctor Strange 2,
yep, multiverse
have Raimi come back and do his Spider-Man 4.
Oh,
just have him do it.
Might as well. Right?
Who was the dude that played Kurt Connors in his movies? He was in like all 3 Spider-Man movies and never became the Lizard.
Yeah, exactly. He was. Yep. Yeah. He was. And that's honestly when he was brought back in the movie, that's how I had in my mind. I was like, oh no, that's right. That was in the Sam Raimi ones, not the new ones.
Yeah. Were you a little bummed that there wasn't one more villain to make it the Sinister Six? It would be too much. It would be too much. But it's like you're one character away from Sinister Six. Just one.
Well, they had okay, Venom's not so, but they had Venom in there. They had a sixth, bad guy, I guess. But yeah,
that was hilarious because Venom just sort of blipped in and then blipped out.
Yes.
So they're like, no, we're not gonna, like, it was the big post-credit scene in Venom 2.
Mm-hmm.
Was it There Will Be Carnage?
Yeah.
That was the big thing, and everyone went apeshit. I mean, I'm sorry. I just said the S word on your podcast.
You're gonna get us defunded. What are you doing?
My apologies. I'm very excited about this. But it was such a big deal. Everyone went crazy. Mm-hmm. And in this movie, it's like, nah. And it was Danny from Ted Lasso.
Yes.
Football is Life.
Football is Life.
But we do now have the symbiote in this. It was enough to get the symbiote
left
here.
Behind. Yeah.
So
I love that. I there are some comments here about the web slingers. I love they called that out. It was so freaking funny. About how Tobey Maguire's web slingers are in his hands and not the mechanical ones. I love that.
Because it kind of, I mean, if you're going to take on all of the things, all the attributes of a spider, why not web shooters? I know fans were complaining that he didn't have web shooters, that they're organic. That was a thing for a long time. But if you're Spider-Man, would you rather do that than have to go back to your lab and make them like Andrew?
Yeah. And they were jealous. Of it. Oh my god. And the youth pastor bit, because I was just like, why is he gonna put a suit on? Like, is he not? Come on, he's got to suit up.
Right. And then he did the
Yeah.
oh, so good. They I had a little bit of a tough time picking out which one was Andrew Garfield and which one
Yes.
was
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire, because the suits are
Mhm.
very similar.
Very
Andrew
well.
Garfield had the bigger, wider eyes.
Yes. Yes. And that's why I was kind of curious, because the first Amazing Spider-Man suit was pretty different from
Yeah.
the, Tobey Maguire suit. It was in the second one that he kind of adopted the more traditional style Spider-Man suit
Mm.
with some slight variance to it. But I think that if there was, I mean, it's not, I'm not going to complain about it, but there wasn't a lot of variance there. But it was cool. We were in a theater with a bunch of nerds, or at least the people that got it, because the scenes that you kind of figured were there in the trailer but weren't really in the trailer, but when they're all three going at it and they're finally like figuring out how to like work together as a team, like everyone's like woo, cheering in the theater. It was like, it was awesome. What was your thoughts of the Spider-Man assemble moment in the film?
Where they were just like perfectly synchronized,
Yes.
and then the shot where they all drop into frame.
Yes.
It's like, okay, here's your new Twitter banner. This is your of the three Spider-Man on the Statue of Liberty. Is that they were adding a Captain America shield to the Statue of Liberty.
Which was
set up
dumb. I hate that, by the way.
It was set up earlier in the movie.
Yes.
Someone called into J. Jonah Jameson and
Yep.
said something about it being bad or something.
It was also mentioned on Hawkeye this week. Not the shield, but something like, have you seen the new Statue of Liberty or whatever? So that's not so much of a spoiler if you haven't seen it yet, but they did kind of mention something about the Statue of Liberty on Hawkeye.
But luckily it got destroyed and got knocked down.
Yes.
But the symbolism of seeing Peter Parker versus Green Goblin on that shield, and Peter Parker holding the sled, the Goblin sled, like John, what's his name on Falcon Winter Soldier. Like it was like this weird sort of, he's doing what I don't remember the names, Patriot, the US Patriot. What he was doing essentially in that episode, he was going to do the Green Goblin and do it on the shield.
Yeah.
So it all kind of comes back.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of nice. And I am glad that they took the shield. The shield went down, because I'm like, you're not going to alter the Statue of Liberty. Why would you do that? Freaking nerds! You don't need to get your Captain America shield up there.
I totally agree. I was just like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Maybe if it was like on the arm, but she was like holding like.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like Statue of Liberty is one of the most beautiful symbolisms and statues in the history of Earth. Why would you put a shield on it? It's so dumb.
But I do like that they just, we'll put this in the movie just to tear it down. Like we know we're going to tear it down, but let's watch them contemplate this awful thing.
Yes.
Of Marvel taking over America.
Yep, exactly. And the thing is, with the Rogers musical, that is part of Hawkeye. I don't know how far you're in Hawkeye, but there's a kind of Hamilton looking Rogers musical. But he has the shield. I was like, it seems so hokey. So whatever. Again, I'm glad they just tore that down because it was really stupid.
But it left that nice big wide arena surface for that final battle.
Yes. And for that final battle, then the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, or Peter Parker 2, kind of coming in and stopping and just having that look like, and then like and have, again, to your point, them trying to make sure that this Peter doesn't go down the same dark path, and then the getting stabbed by Green Goblin, but then them all together saving him and redeeming him. It was beautiful.
He says, "Is this happening or am I dying?"
Yes. And then he ended up dying because I was like, I don't want him to be dead. You cannot kill him. I want him to go back to his MJ. And
I tried to look at the silhouettes in the sort of splinter in the sky.
Yep.
I did see Rhino. Rhino was one silhouette I saw. But that was it. And it looked like a more traditional Rhino, not like the weird sort of Logan's Run box Rhino of Paul Giamatti.
I love I get stabbed a lot. The whole interplay was great. It was so good.
Those two were so good together.
Right? Yeah. Like and that's another thing too. You bring back these people And you would think like it's not chemistry isn't automatic, you know, and the fact that the chemistry was great, like
Yeah.
they had
With
this
all of
kinship.
them.
They all did, yeah. And I think it was the Spider-Man 3, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that said, I always wanted brothers. Was it him that said it?
Yeah.
But and so, but they did have this kind of kinship and brothership where they just understood each other, and it was just so it was just so fulfilling, like on such a level that I just did not expect, even though I was expecting these people to show up, maybe they pulled it off in such a way that it had no right to pull off, but they did it. And it was amazing.
Right. Right. What happened to Tom Holland's Uncle Ben? Because it's clear he didn't get killed.
Well, I assume he died, but maybe not the same way for the others, because I remember in the first one him talking about Uncle Ben, but maybe just wasn't the thing that was the catalyst for Peter Parker. And he didn't have the with great power comes great responsibility. Aunt May gave that to him.
Which was great.
Oh, and that's when I was just like, oh, she is gonna die when she said it.
Right. Like, and then when on the rooftop, when he says with great power, and then the other Spider-Man it's the one thing that connected all three of them were those words. And so his Aunt May was their Uncle Ben.
Yep.
Got that scene. And dude, like Tom Holland, freaking knocked it out of the park. Yes. He was so good in this movie.
Tour de force. They were all the like acting across the board.
Everybody. Nobody
was slacking in this movie. There was no Zendaya's MJ was fantastic. All the villains coming back. Jamie Foxx is like, he got to kind of change it up a little bit because he was kind of nerdy in his version, and in this world he
got a makeover.
Yeah. But again, Alfred Molina, who it brought a gravitas to both Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina's bad guys brought a gravitas in the original films that kind of, I think, elevated superhero movies, right? Like we didn't have that kind of Shakespearean approach, I think. And X-Men maybe did it kind of too, but all the Batman one, even the Burton ones, and they're great, but they were more like over the top kind of villains. But I really feel like the Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina kind of grounded it in these really real tragic characters, and they were just as good 20 years later.
How did they write this? Sure, there were surprises. Like, we knew that Doc Ock and Green Goblin were going to be in it. We all assumed that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to be in it, but we never once thought that this would be their story, that these characters would be just so well written. It doesn't, like, they might even be better written in this than their original movies.
Yes, and Willem Dafoe's performance, Charlie Weaver, and then Nick Dillinger says it here too. Yeah. Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is toe to toe with any Joker. Him cackling, getting punched in the face, and the smiles in his face are just like, go ahead.
Peter tells him, "I'm gonna rip you apart."
Yeah,
and he gets excited by that. He's like, "Here we go." Yeah, all right. And it was like, oh. But the thing that sucks is, it's not Norman Osborn saying these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's like, Peter doesn't want to kill Norman Osborn. He wants to kill the Green Goblin.
Yep.
They got rid of the mask. And as soon as I saw him with the purple hoodie on, I'm like, oh, here we go. And his clothes just got torn, and it had that classic Goblin look. His face wasn't green.
No,
which might have gone too far. I thought when he got stabbed, when May stabbed him. Wait, who?
May did.
Yeah, I thought because it was green, I thought he was going to turn full on green faced Goblin, but I'm glad they didn't. I still thought he looked awesome with the hoodie, and the goggles and stuff.
Yeah. People are asking, did it de-age at all? I feel like they had to.
Molina was,
right?
Yeah. I want to say Defoe was too.
He was too. Like it looked. They kind of made. And here's my other question: they had to have de-aged Tobey Maguire too, because he looked amazing. Like, isn't he like 75? Like, he looked fantastic.
No, we watched as soon as we saw like the Doc Ock trailer,
Yeah.
me and my wife Stevie, we
Mhm.
threw on like a recent interview with him on Jimmy Kimmel, just
Yeah.
because we're like, oh great, what is he gonna look like? Is
Yeah.
he like puffy or whatever?
Mhm.
That's what he looks like.
That's insane. Good for him.
He's gotta be, he's probably maybe a couple years older than me.
Wasn't he like
I'm
in his
sure,
30s 20 years ago?
I'm sure someone in the chat can let us know how old he is.
I'm looking up
I
right
would
now.
say 50. I'm gonna say 52.
52? No, he's only 46. Only 46.
Oh,
So
so he's
yeah, a
he's
couple years older.
he's a year older than me.
Yeah.
I'll be 45 in a couple months.
But good for him.
I
Keeping
need
the
to
youth about him.
yeah, I need to work on my Spidey body.
I loved how comfortable where they were with each other, like the back helping him with his cracking his back. That was awesome.
Everything. Like I said, I could watch it out. I'm like, I don't want this movie to end.
Yes.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want something else to show up. I don't know who. Because after everyone's pretty much cured and the sky was opening, and Peter says to him, close it, it's got to be
Mhm.
closed. Just make everybody forget Peter Parker. I'm like, no, let it open. Every villain, Spider-Man villain ever, bring in every Spider-Man, bring in Miles Morales, bring in
Yeah.
everybody.
There's
We did
a mention or kind of an alluding to Miles Morales, but now, okay, if they would have brought Miles Morales Spider-Man, and do you bring the animated Miles Morales?
I don't know, but I want to. This is me. I don't know. I
Mhm.
think the actor who played Miles Morales in the animated film had a cameo in this. I could be
Oh, okay.
wrong.
That'd be awesome.
When they were all going into high school
Mm-hmm.
after everyone found out he was
Yeah.
Spider-Man, there's a guy that says, "We love you, MJ."
Uh-huh.
He looks
That's
just
him?
like the guy who plays. He looks like just like the guy who plays Miles
Oh,
Morales.
okay.
Could be wrong,
Yeah.
but I feel like that would be a great nod to that movie.
I want to plus this comment because I think it's actually a really good point to make here. The writers
Yeah.
did what no other Spider-Man writers were able to pull off for I guess a third movie in the Spider-Man film franchise. Like, they knew the assignment. Like, it's a really good point because we haven't had a fulfilled Spider-Man arc, period.
Right.
And we mentioned a little bit earlier, but they managed to have a fulfilled Spider-Man arc for all of them in one film,
Yeah.
let alone just one Spider-Man story. They
I
actually pulled off for 3.
all day I've been calling this Spider-Man 9.
Yeah.
And after I watched it, I'm like, oh my God, it totally is.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally Spider-Man 9.
Mm-hmm.
Into the Multiverse or Into the Spider-Verse is a 10th Spider-Man film. But as far as live action goes, this is, I consider this the 9th one. And it includes 2001 Spider-Man all the way to now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely as much, well, not maybe as much, but it's almost as much Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's movie as it is Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100% all three of their movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal. I hate being like a gushy fanboy, but this movie was really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was good on like so many, because MCU movies, while I enjoy them, they do kind of follow a formula. They're very formulaic to a certain degree.
Mhm.
And this one, to your point, like, it managed to have this really forward-thinking story of let's help heal these bad guys. Like, that
was amazing,
right? And it was so moving, and it was just so much more compelling. And I love this Aunt Mako. Thanks for pulling it up here, Thomas. Saltwater or fresh water, when she asked Doc Ock what he wanted to drink. You're an octopus.
I want to talk a little bit about the music.
Okay, yeah. Like the actual music in it, or Giacchino's score?
Giacchino's score.
Okay.
he used Elfman for Doc Ock, Green Goblin, and Spider-Man.
Yep.
Tobey Maguire. He used their themes from those,
Mhm.
and Sandman used those themes, Elfman themes from the movie.
Yep.
James Horner from Amazing Spider-Man and the group of people that worked with Hans Zimmer for the second Amazing Spider-Man. So all of those were essentially used, and and it was perfect.
Mhm.
It was perfect. And of course his Doctor Strange theme
Yeah.
from Doctor Strange.
Yep.
So it was kind of fun. Like that's kind of what got me a lot too, was hearing those old themes that I've been listening to for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like Elfman's done one thing, I think, for the MCU, and it was Avengers 2. He did that music with Brian Tyler.
Mhm.
But the fact that we get to hear classic Elfman themes
Yeah.
in the MCU is great. And
Mhm.
then now I can't wait to hear Elfman do Raimi's Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, which is going to be a lot of fun. So this score is what is in your brain, making your brain say, okay, send some tears to the eyes and make them start falling. Like, the music is so good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Ryan Dole, quick break from the game to say that the menace only known as Spider-Man was the sixth member of Sinister Six.
Right. J.
Um,
Jonah Jameson, great.
oh my God. Yeah. Colleen and I was like, so is he Alex Jones or Limbaugh? It seemed like he was an amalgamation of all of the kind of conspiracy theory, whatever.
But I like how fast his fame rises, because his first telecast is in like his room with all the yarn on the board, on the push pin board, and like the next time we see him, he's in a full-blown studio.
Yeah. It was fast.
It shows you how fast these guys can.
Giacchino's score was great. Was listening to it last night with the kids. Solid score with great nods, but his main MCU Spidey theme is great. It is. Like, I want to give him credit, and I feel like I've been gushing over the man's work for 15 plus years at this point. But like, when you can go away and you're humming it in your head or whatever, it's like, as I was leaving the movie and driving in the car, I was like, like, it's just that's when I think you got that score that works, where you kind of, and that's something he's really good at. He's good at getting those memorable licks that kind of just stick with you, like the Up, we won an Oscar for Up. Like, it's just like, like he's really good at getting a lick that kind of just sticks with you after you leave the theater. I think that's his superpower, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Bearded Toy Guy just popped in to say hey, and to say that I was crying like a baby when May died and the other Spider-Man showed up, especially Garfield. He really redeemed himself in his movies with his performance. I totally agree. So, and we were talking about that earlier. BTG, like all of them had fantastic resolutions, but yeah, him saving MJ, like, that was just, out of all there's so many tear moments in it, but that was another one that just kind of like was a quick, like, in the sweet action scenes and everything else, was just a quick gut punch of like, okay, back to action.
And I was on the edge of my seat waiting for Tobey Maguire to mention where he was at in his relationship with MJ. And I'm like, just say you're together already.
Yes.
Just say it. And then he said it.
Yeah. But are you surprised we didn't see Kirsten Dunst's MJ?
I would have, listen, it would have been great to see everybody from those movies. But I feel like this was so much about Spider-Man and these three guys.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't have, of course I wanted, like I said, I would like the movie to keep going, but
sure, yeah.
Let's explore it in Raimi's Spider-Man 4.
There you go.
Let's do it.
And this one's for you, Ralph. Philip Rodriguez, I gave the Hans Zimmer credit the finger for Ralph during the credits.
Right.
See, look at it. You're getting dozens of followers, Ralph, to follow you in your quest of Hans Zimmer hatred. Scott, did you get that little dust? No, it wasn't dust. It was full on tears. Like we were just talking earlier, our masks were soaked up with all the tears.
There's nothing I could do. Stevie was like, "You cried a lot." I'm like, "I know." I wasn't gonna lie about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Colleen, I'm a crybaby in movies, so whenever there's an emotional scene, I've just gotten used to her just looking at me and just waiting to see the tears. And she did the same thing this time, but this time she was crying a lot too. I heard the sniffles. I saw the this and the that, so I wasn't alone this time. There you go. Yeah, exactly. It was very tearful, very tearful.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on kind of the everybody forgetting who Peter Parker is, like it almost kind of completely resetting? And I thought it was so moving, him realizing his friends are better off if he just leaves it the way it is. Like, what was your thought?
For some reason, when he went back to the diner,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't bother me that much with MJ and with Ned. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this is something he could rebuild. But it didn't occur to me when he was at May's grave,
Mm-hmm.
when Happy came up, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, he doesn't know who this is.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like he still has a chance to get back with MJ. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Really? So
Unless they introduce a Gwen Stacy.
yeah. I kind of, again, if this it's not the last one, but I thought it was, I don't know. I just thought it was really beautiful. Like it was kind of one of those Casablanca kind of ends where it's just like, actually, it's better if we don't end up together. Like, cause he saw the Band-Aid on her eye or whatever. It's like, actually, this may be for the best. I'm just gonna leave you. And like it's heartbreaking. It's moving. It's tragic. But I don't know. Just that's where it hit for me. It's just like, oh, this truly is kind of a reset for the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and it doubled down when, to your point, we got the Ditko suit.
I almost halfway thought it was going to end with that. What is that? Tales of Fantasy. What's the first Spider-Man appearance where he's swinging and he's got the guy. Yeah, Amazing Fantasy, where he's got the guy under his arm. I literally thought it was going to end on that frame, which might have been perfect, but then you'd have to explain who's this guy he's holding. But the suit, oh my gosh. I can't wait for Disney to put out a poster of that in like a week or two of that suit, because and it had like kind of a sparkle to it.
It did.
The blue is a little bit of sparkly.
Yeah.
Like a diner booth.
The blue really popped. Like it really popped on screen.
Yeah.
It looked amazing.
Oh my gosh. Tobey Maguire telling Andrew Garfield, he's amazing. You're amazing.
Yes.
He kept telling him he was amazing. And I'm like, that's funny because he was Amazing Spider-Man.
I love that. I love that so much. Let's see. Mike says, so going forward, since Peter is avoiding MJ, are we going to get Gwen Stacy and potentially Spider-Gwen? That's
Great.
possible. That's very possible. And then Ned becomes Hobgoblin without Peter there to be his friend. Thoughts there?
Could be.
Because there's a kind of a point to be made. Is really funny. It was played for a joke, but I promise I won't ever try to kill you or whatever. Like that. It was really funny. But what if that turns out to be a thing? That's a really good call out, Mr. Ozone.
But then Tobey Maguire saying, my friend died in my arms. It's like, oh man, that sucks. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So when he saw the bandaged eye, he crumbled. He put the paper back in his pocket, and then walked away. And it was beautiful. Doomed, yeah, agreed. I want an action figure. I want a hot toy of the last suit because it looks so freaking good. So good.
Yeah.
Bearded toy guy, I was confused. They didn't have any more Spider-Man suits, but people knew who Spider-Man was still. No, I think he probably just kind of gave those up. It seemed like he was walking away from the Stark Industries.
Yeah, he decided to just live out in an apartment.
And I dug it.
He doesn't have anybody.
Yeah.
Aunt May is gone. He has nobody.
Yeah.
MJ doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
And just like Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, like Captain Stacy told him, as long as you're in Gwen's life, she's in danger. And I feel like Peter understands that.
Yep.
And so he's got to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying he's the most famous person on the planet, but has no money.
Yep.
He can't really talk to Happy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if we're lucky, or if he's lucky, Nick Fury isn't involved. Maybe he's outside the radius
Yeah.
of this magic spell
Mm-hmm.
and can be someone that can,
Maybe.
still knows Peter.
Maybe.
But who knows? But he's literally alone, and now he has to pay rent. He's got nobody. He's
Yeah.
literally got nobody.
Ooh, and then he could go work for J. Jonah Jameson. That would be a fun twist.
Yeah.
You know who he is. I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet. I cheered. A lot of us cheered in the theater when we saw him. But Matt Murdock,
Right,
showing up in the film. The Netflix, I'm blanking on the actor's name right now, but somebody that we all lamented. I think when Kevin Feige was like, oh, well, all the Netflix people, they're not carrying over. Well, it's a big fat lie, because Matt Murdock was in it. And it was
a great scene too.
It was awesome.
When the brick gets thrown through the window, he catches it and says, he's like, how'd you do that? I'm a good lawyer. Like,
Yes.
all that stuff. I was like, oh my God. And the brick said Mysterio is right. I loved that the country is divided between Spider-Man and Mysterio.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie Cox. I'm totally blanking live. Appreciate it. Appreciate the call there. But again, like out of all the Netflix shows, I like Jessica Jones as well. Actually, Luke Cage I dug too. But the Charlie Cox Daredevil is fantastic. So is his big bad Kingpin in that, and I won't say anything other than that. But I love Charlie Cox being in this film. Yeah. I am so excited. And I don't know if it'll just be a TV series. It could just be a Disney Plus series, or should he get his own film? I don't know, but I freaking love it. But anywho, yeah, We Believe Mysterio, I believe, was spelled wrong. It was believe. Is that a hint at something?
I don't know.
But
it's a hint that people are on the wrong side aren't well educated. It's just a hint that the people on the wrong side aren't well educated.
But then the Hannibal Buress, he was kind of into the whole conspiracy theories, and I thought that was them coming back in the school. I thought was hilarious. Is it Bart Starr? I'm blanking on his name. Something Starr. Martin Starr. And
JB
Smooth and Hannibal Buress. I loved that scene because they were a lot of fun in the other movies, and they didn't have that much time because there wasn't enough time for them. But I like their actual small moments in this film. Yeah. I thought that was really funny. And we did talk about the scenes of the web shooters. It was so, again, yeah, it was finally asked the questions we all want to know for 20 years, and it did it in the most perfect way possible. That's what I love about having it in a multiverse thing. Is like, that's just the way it is for me.
And that's a testament to the chemistry too.
Yes,
that scene could have been so hokey, but these guys, I mean, I guess being a Spider-Man is a really small group.
Yes,
like there's a lot of animated Spider-Man, and there's the old 70s TV show Spider-Man, stuff like that. But when it comes to the films, there's only 3, and to get these guys in a room together, they automatically have some sort of common ground. They've all been in that suit, and they all know what it's like to be in that suit.
Yeah.
So they've got like the best icebreaker ever.
Yeah.
And it feels like they just hit it off, and we're having the best time.
Yeah.
And I loved, even up to the very end, Andrew Garfield was saying, nope, still haven't got a call from Marvel.
Really?
Like he kept saying, like people were asking, are you in it? Oh, nope, still haven't got a call from Marvel.
Wow. Well done.
And he's in it so much. I thought maybe he would be in that one scene in Ned's dining room, but dude's all over the movie.
Yeah. And did a great job too. But then that takes a level of letting go of ego, I think, right? Because I don't think that's how Andrew Garfield wanted his Spider-Man to end on Amazing Spider-Man 2, right? And it kind of ended a little early. And same for Tobey Maguire, like not having done it for nearly 20 years, but then to come back and be present and not kind of cashing a check, but like nailing it. there's like a
But,
kudos to them for like letting go of their ego to just be present and do that good of a job.
but what's great is they call him Peter 3, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, fine, okay.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'll deal with it. Like I mean, I wouldn't even call Tom Holland Peter 1. Tobey
Mhm.
Maguire for me is Peter 1. But
Absolutely.
the fact
I
that
agree. Yeah.
the fact that Andrew Garfield is Peter 3 and he's like, I get it. I get it. I get it. So yeah, there's some sort of self-awareness and his ego isn't getting in the way, and it's kind of what you have to do for these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
Like his character in that other film was so not Electro,
No. So
but
bad.
for him, and I don't know what his like involvement with creating that character was, but I'm glad that he came back and was like, okay, we're going to do it this way.
Yep.
And he went for it. He was in it way, way, way more than I thought he'd be in
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was great. He had some
He
of the
was.
best lines. He's
Mhm.
where Andrew Garfield takes off the mask and he's like, "Oh, I kind of figured Spider-Man would be black." Great line. Like sort of your tribute to Miles Morales.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like you're from Queens, you help poor people. I assumed.
Yeah.
And it was a nice illusion there.
And
And
the same with
Right.
Doc Ock and Tobey Maguire.
Mm-hmm.
They have a scene where they talk like they did at the beginning of Spider-Man,
Yes.
where they were just like, Peter, hey Parker, he's Parker, and
Yes.
then he starts talking about it's like it was good to see each other. Like
Yeah.
it was like reunions were great.
Oh,
Everything
so
was great.
and the thing is like they were friends with each other, right? Like there was this kind of
Yeah.
paternal, father figure kind of thing between the two of them. And then the arms took over, right? The thing got shorted
Yeah.
and so that the death of Doc Ock in the film was very impactful to Peter. And so it was such a nice moment between them because they kind of got to have another chance, and that kind of letting Doc Ock get to be the person that he was before the arms got taken over. Again, having them in the film so long allowed Doc Ock to have this very
Yeah.
like a full on beyond epilogue resolution.
There's so many arcs
Yeah.
for every character.
Yeah.
You've got 5 villains, 3 Spider-Men,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have, every single one of them had an arc. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Charlie,
Which is the opposite of Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
yeah, right. Charlie, I'm pretty sure that was a request Fox had before he came back. Yeah, definitely cooler. And had the electro mask, like when he was using the arc reactor, you could see it there, which was cool. I like that. That was awesome.
Yeah, him with the arc reactor, that was nuts.
Yeah, I was like, oh crap, that's not good for him to have. It's a bad idea. All right, what else in this movie? We're probably forgetting stuff. Talk about score.
Post credits, you want to talk about it's a flat out trailer for
it was a straight up, and I think the last time we had that happen was the Avengers trailer. Was it at the end of Captain America or Thor? They dropped that trailer. I think it was Captain America. I guess the last time we got like a full-on trailer, right? In a Marvel movie.
Right.
I'm trying to remember.
I want to say so, yeah.
But yeah, like a full-on trailer for Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. We were kind of meh on the WandaVision, things we like, things we didn't like.
Oh yeah.
But it was great to see her here and it thoughts on that trailer. Like what was your like initial gut take?
Well, first I thought it was a scene. I'm like, oh wait, no, this is cut like a trailer. And then when I realized it was cut like a trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, this is Sam Raimi footage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I get to see Sam Raimi footage on the big screen. And I've been a fan of Sam Raimi since probably, I don't know, like 97.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was when I first started getting into
the Evil Dead movies,
Army of Darkness, Evil Dead and stuff. No, it had to have been sooner than that because Spider-Man came out 2001. And I love Darkman, and I saw Darkman pretty early on. Anyway, so excited.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Raimi's great. Rewatched Spider-Man 2. The Doc Ock scene in the hospital is the most pure bat crazy Sam Raimi sequence.
Yeah.
And so if we can get some of that into this Doctor Strange movie, it's going to be a lot of fun. And since it is the multiverse, I 100% need, because I always thought if they made a Doctor Strange movie, the perfect person to play Doctor Strange would have been Bruce Campbell. And so please, I hope there is a multiverse version of Doctor Strange that's Bruce Campbell, because he looked like the comic book version. The hair, the chin, everything, the build. And Bruce Campbell's got to be in it.
Oh, of course.
So,
of course, Bruce Campbell's going to be in it. There's no doubt there.
But the fact that it's Raimi and Elfman, and I can't wait. And Danny Elfman, his themes were used by Giacchino, and Giacchino did Doctor Strange once. I'm hoping that Elfman now uses Giacchino's theme in Doctor Strange. I hope they traded, they had the cards out and traded characters, because those guys have both scored Batman's, Mission Impossible's, Planet of the Apes, Doctor Strange's, and Spider-Man's. So they kind of have been for a while hovering around the same universes. Like they're like, those two composers are like the multiverse versions.
That's a really good point. People are saying nope. Ramiverse, Mysterio. Since I guess he was supposed to play Mysterio in the Ramiverse. I did want to plus this in because we haven't talked about it yet. Mike brought it up. The "Are you in a band" moment about the Avengers, that was awesome. We were, well, I have been on a team before the Avengers, and they're like, what?
I loved it.
It was so good. It's like a band,
which is great because the Avengers were around when Garfield was around.
Yeah.
Right.
But it just, I just love how each universe was its own thing, and since they really were their own things, but that's what I love about multiverse, or whatever. Like, and we're hopefully going to get the same thing with the Flash movie, but just allowing multiple films to kind of just exist, but they could still kind of interplay with each other.
I feel really bad for the Flash movie right now. And I know that the guys writing Flash wrote Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home. So there's hope. They didn't write this one.
No.
But I mean, it can't stack up to this, right? As much as I wanted to, and as much as I love Keaton's Batman, this movie is like, this is maybe my favorite Spider-Man movie.
It's, for me,
I mean, Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 2 were always the standard. But this is hovering around there somewhere. I really feel for the Flash. I want it to be good. I'm a DC guy, but holy cow, when it comes to multiverse, these guys got it out first, and they got it done really, really well.
Like, I mean, let's think, because you're right, because it's almost pitch perfect, and good to see pop actor and all music fan here. What live stream are you guys in? I hope I'm not messing up anybody else's live stream schedule tonight. But yeah, it is about as pitch perfect as it can be. Are there any, like, again, maybe we're just kind of in that glow, but are there any flaws, like big flaws to the film kind of coming out of it?
Sandman was kind of a side character.
A little bit, yeah.
But I did like that among these group of scientists that there was one character that was just this criminal guy. Because it kind of, you can tell between him and Electro, their conversation together, that they can sway like either way. Like, you don't know if they're going to be bad or they're going to be good. If they don't trust Spider-Man, when Electro had that thing on him and it was taking away his powers.
Yep.
The little green lights. it did give Electro someone to bounce off of,
Yes.
someone that wasn't an academic mind.
Yeah.
But he was a little bit sort of cast aside. Maybe also the Lizard was a little bit cast aside. But I mean, again, we're dealing with 5 story arcs for the villains and 3 story arcs for Spider-Man's.
Yeah.
And an Aunt May story that
Oh.
was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so I don't give a crap about Rotten Tomato scores, but right now audience scores at 99 and the tomato meters at 95%. Like, it's right. I would go read those bad reviews just to see what they had a problem with, because I don't see any problems with the movie.
Yeah. And no, I totally agree. Like, I do want to plus one in here, Mr. Ozone. I think bring Venom in, just get pieces and then send him back was my own complaint. I could see that, but I was gonna see, like, he's more of a campy character in his universe, so I kind of liked how he's just kind of like there, like, oh, I I thought that was fun, but I can understand it's like, oh, he's there, but then he's not really there, but he leaves the symbiote.
It really undercut the post credit scenes from Let There Be Carnage, which was kind of funny. It almost feels like that's the perfect way to do Venom, is a big F you to this movie. He's like, I'm going to show up in your universe. You know what? No, not for me. Just bounces. Like,
this is a fair. It didn't even occur to me. I've heard people complain that Electro didn't know Peter Parker, only Spider-Man. I don't care though. But I guess he knew Peter Parker as a person too, though, right? Didn't they know each other? Like, wasn't there kind of like a?
I just watched this movie.
You just didn't know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. I thought. I haven't seen the movie in a few years now, but
I saw it on Tuesday, and I don't remember.
So at the end of Venom 2, Venom and Eddie are connected to the Hive across the multiverse, and that's why they were transported into this MCU, because Topher Grace's Venom knew who Spider-Man was.
I don't know.
It's a good question. It's a really good question.
I don't know.
But yeah, I guess it was Hebro was doing a stream. Love Hebro as well. So no worries there. Let's see. Any other thoughts? We didn't know he didn't know that Spider-Man was white. I think that was the play there, and it kind of called out to Miles Morales in a way. But anywho, if we're getting that nitpicky, I think that's fair. Like, if you want to get that nitpicky, but to me, it's about as pitch perfect. As hard as all of that is to pull off, it's about as pitch perfect as it could be.
Right.
Right.
I never felt a lull.
Oh yeah.
There's no lull. When I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife the second time, I did have some lulls. When I watched any superhero movie, there's usually a lull somewhere. But nah, this, I was not a single scene wasted.
And again, in a world where superhero movies, maybe there'll never be a tiredness to them, but they've been played out, and IP movies in general are played out a little bit, but this one just felt good the whole time. Like, it felt fresh. Right. It had emotion, laughs, action.
Like Shang-Chi, like the last 20 minutes bugged me. The last 10 minutes of WandaVision bugged me. All the swirling stuff in the sky bugs me. We did get a little of that with Sandman, but it's established. It wasn't, and the sky ripping open made sense in the story. So it wasn't that big, huge CG fight. It was just
the main fight was between, or the most emotional one was just on, the inside of Cap's shield, and it didn't have a red sky or whatever. It had a little bit of blue. But I left the Tobey Maguire, like, am I dying or is that really happening? Like, I love the bit of a tongue in cheek, like, this doesn't happen in my universe, whatever this in the sky.
And they were talking about him. He's like, wait, you fought a space alien, but you were in space?
Yes.
Like that stuff. Mine was purple.
I love rankings. First, tied No Way Home into Spider-Verse. Second, Spider-Man 2. Third, Don't Care, Pick Any. I kind of feel similar for me. I think there's a little bit of recency bias because Into the
Spider-Man 1.
Spider-Verse I thought was incredible.
Spider-Man 1's phenomenal. I would put that as 3.
3. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. For me though, Spider-Man 2, like when I saw that, I was like, this is the pinnacle of superhero movies. Nothing will beat this. And that's coming from I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, but like that movie made me a Spider-Man fan. It was so good.
We popped it on, and then it was like well past bedtime, and we couldn't find a good place to stop because we're just fixated on it.
Mhm.
Spider-Man 2 is still a great movie.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed. So you go into battle as the cool youth pastor. I love that line. There's so many great lines in this movie. This Mr. Ocean calls out a good point. I did want to ask you, Ralph. I'm sure you had this trailer. I could care less about Morbius, and every time I see that trailer, I'm like, I give this much crap about seeing that movie.
I'm fine with it.
It looks.
I enjoy the Venom movies. I'm that guy.
Yep.
I like that they're 90 minutes. They don't waste your time. They're like, we're going to give you this insane story with this insane person. We're going to get in, we're going to have fun, and we're going to get out. Boom. Mm-hmm. It's in and out.
Yeah.
It doesn't overstay its welcome. They're both like exactly 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Morbius is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping it's just insane, crazy, over the top, and then done. Yeah. Just get out of there.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's Titton's comment here real quick. The Home trilogy is the MCU Spider-Man origin story, and it really did, right? Because I like the choice originally. We're like, okay, we're not getting the Uncle Ben dies and the great product comes, like, because we've seen it already a few times. Like, we don't need to do it. But I love how it happened in this film, and it was just so impactful. And then bringing the other Spider-Man back to kind of help him process it. The whole thing does kind of become this really well laid out origin story for Spider-Man. That's like,
it's like the Daniel Craig of James Bond.
Yeah.
There's been some before. They're different versions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about all we could say about this, Ralph, right? We're coming about an hour.
Yeah.
Anything final thoughts, Ralph, on the film?
The director of this movie's next film will be Fantastic Four. And that got me really excited because if he got so much right in this trilogy.
Yeah.
And now he's going to do that to Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
Get the same writers.
Yeah.
Let's maybe don't do Doctor Doom. We've already done that twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it makes me excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
The possibilities of that. As far as Spider-Man goes, I could use a Spider-Man break for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like, if this was the last Spider-Man movie ever, it's perfect.
Right?
So
I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, to me, like, I left satisfied. Like you're saying Spider-Man 9, it just felt like 20 years of story resolution in one movie. And
it almost made Andrew Garfield my favorite Spider-Man. I'm like, he was perfect. He was so good in it.
Oh, absolutely. And so it was, and again, I think it resolved the MCU Spider story really well. So I am with you. Like, I'm fine if we take a year or 2 or 3 years, whatever it is. Probably won't, because that's how the business is. But I adored this film, and they set up other things, right? Because they did drop they brought Hardy's Venom in for a moment just to drop the symbiote, but but I dug it so much. And yeah, I freaking loved it. Go see it. Actually, wait, you shouldn't be watching this if you haven't seen it. So why am I saying go see it? But it definitely gets my thumbs up. Or as I say, my toy reviews, the Geek Dad Life buy rating, because it definitely gets it. Sure.
Right.
Ralph, you do a lot of great many things. One of them is live action Star Wars at liveactionstarwars.com. And you will be covering the Book of Boba Fett, which is coming up in like a week, right? You're going to be doing live stream recaps after the episodes, right?
Right. I'm a little anxious. Usually on this side of the screen over here in my little section, I don't have. Oh, great. Now you're making me anxious because I feel like I should be in control of the show. But I don't like. I've done 2 live streams before. I'm on your side where you're plussing in the combo.
Yeah.
I just come here and I talk. So we have the Book of Boba Fett. We're doing live on the Wednesdays. Hopefully that they're released. Would love people to join in the chat so I can plus you guys in, and that's going to be every Wednesday that a new episode drops, and at Live Action Star Wars. We are pretty new, so we don't have the following that Geek Dad Life does. So I'd love it if you guys came over. Jay, if it works out, maybe we can get you on an episode with us.
I'd love to be on.
It's a pretty tight schedule. Our first episode's happening at 9 a.m, but that could be a lunch show for you.
That's true. That's true. It could be a lunch break show.
So we'll see what happens. We're going to start messing around with the time because this is our first time doing this, but liveactionstarwars.com.
So
it's going to be at different times on Wednesdays because here's the thing. My co-host James lives in England and he works 3rd shift. So we'll definitely, by our first episode is going to be December 29th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. By the end of that episode, we'll let you know what time the following episode.
But really,
it might be later in the day or sooner, but it'll definitely be on Wednesdays.
This is what I'll say about that. Just make sure you hit subscribe and the bell icon, and you'll just be notified whenever the episodes drop.
Right.
And you'll know.
Right.
That's my advice. Darthane says, do you have cookies? Like we have cookies over there for people that come.
Yeah, sure. I have some not sponsored, but I have some chewy chips or something with what peanut butter cups.
Beer 9 a.m. Pacific, so it's like noon now. It's maybe like a lunch break show that I do.
But then the following week we might try a different time. But yeah, hit that bell icon. Definitely subscribe. We're at like 170 people, I think.
Hey, you're growing. It takes time.
Slightly under, but yeah, this is good. This is like the first time I've done live podcasting, and I only started doing video podcasting in May 25th. So,
well, hopefully,
be gentle.
You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great. So check that out, as well as your podcast Dharmalars. You can find it on iTunes, as well as Casino Skunk. Is it just casino.com or?
It's just casinoskunk.com.
But you covered the Beatles Get Back documentary that was on Disney Plus. I've loved having Dharmalars back anyway, but your coverage of it, I just freaking love the heck out of it. I know there's only 3 episodes, but I kind of want you all to do more. I told Ryan, I was like, you guys need to do one on just the cops or something, but I want more time with you to talk about it. But it was really, really good. But yeah, that's my plug.
Thank you,
my friend. All right, well, that will do it for this. I believe John and I will be doing Toy Geeks tomorrow night at 9:00. He is in Massachusetts, so we'll be live streaming for him. He'll be in a different location, and we'll be doing our top figures from 2021. We both are doing our top 5, so be sure to stay tuned for that, and have some fun kind of Christmas week stuff planned as well. And I believe I'll probably, since we'll have to kind of shift out the last episode of Toy Geeks of the year, not on Sunday next Sunday. This Sunday we're here. The following Sunday, maybe I'll do a Boxing Day unboxing live on the channel, because I have some awesome Motu Origin stuff I need to do. But anywho, so that's why you have to hit subscribe and the bell icon for this channel to make sure you're notified when those episodes drop. Woo! This was fun. Another great time on Screen Geeks. Ralph, I will probably have to do, if you have time, maybe once all of Book of Boba Fett is done, maybe a collective session about it to chat with everybody here or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be fun. But definitely go to liveactionstarwars.com for weekly coverage for Book of Boba Fett. Should be a lot of fun.
Right.
We'll see you all next time. Hasta luego. And goodbye.
Thank you.